All right, Madam Vice Chair, we have a quorum present in person. Just to let everybody know that's in person, on your microphones, there's a button to push. When it's red, you're live. If you need to move it forward, I do sanitize the microphone, so please don't worry about putting it forward. And also, if it's not on, the virtual attendees cannot hear you.
Okay, so we're ready to start. I'd like to call to order the December 3rd, 2020 meeting of the TPA's Bicycle Trailways Pedestrian Advisory Committee. The Palm Beach TPA is conducting this meeting both in person and virtually using the Zoom webinar platform. And the TPA selected this platform because it does not require the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to attend this meeting. The public will have no discernible difference in their ability to watch the meeting from that of someone physically attending the meeting. Instruction to join this virtual meeting, as well as contact information for the TPA staff, for a staff member to assist you, are provided in the published meeting agenda. Before we begin, I'll summarize our public comment participation procedures for this virtual meeting. The first one is written comments may be submitted online at the website provided in the agenda. Second, verbal comments may be made by a virtual attendee using the raise hand feature in the Zoom platform. Last, a verbal or written comment may be provided in person, submitting a comment card available at the welcome table. And if you will please call the roll so we can establish quorum.
Sally Channon,
Here.
Eric Ferguson, Ted Goodenough, Michael Howe,
Here.
Jean Matthews, Yash Nagal is excused, Fadi Nassar,
Here.
Michael Owens, Craig Pinder,
Here.
Olga Puerto,
Ryan Harding for Olga Preto.
John Roach,
Here.
Brian Rusher,
Here.
Bob Sabin, Joanne Scaria,
Here.
Stephanie Thoburn,
Here.
Larry Wallace is excused. We have a quorum, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, Vice Chair. If you'll bear with me while I read our script. So pursuant to state law, a quorum of the BTPAC must be physically present at the advertised meeting site in order to conduct the meeting and take action as a body. However, the Florida Attorney General has previously opined that so long as a quorum is physically present at the meeting site, additional members may participate remotely, provided that they have a significant circumstance that justifies their absence, with significant circumstance being reasonably determined by the physically present members. I have a few members that have provided a brief explanation of the significant circumstance preventing their in-person attendance. I will read aloud each one so that the committee may determine if the member will be admitted into the meeting as a virtual participant. Please note that voting members approved to participate remotely will be enabled to participate in debate, and also that they must vote unless they have documented a conflict of interest on a particular item. So the first one I have is from Michael Owens. He said, regarding the in-person attendance for the 12-3 BTPAC meeting, school district planning staff have been directed to work remotely since March. We have been advised to continue to do so. I am, as always, available to attend virtually tomorrow's meeting. And you can take a consensus whether to allow Michael Owens to join virtually or not.
Is there a consensus on allowing Michael Owens to attend virtually, or should we take these up all at once?
It's up to you. At the TAC meeting, all the chair asked was if there was any objections, and we moved forward.
Okay.
So if you want to do them one by one, I can keep reading.
Okay. Any objections? No?
Okay.
Seeing none.
So my next one is from Eric Ferguson. He said the city still has a no in-person meeting policy in effect, and he would like to attend virtually.
Any objections? No objections.
Okay, and I did have an email from Bob letting me know that he would be attending virtually. He did not provide a reason as to why he needed to attend virtually.
There's no justification?
He did not provide a written justification for me to read to you. He just noted he would be attending virtually. Do you want me to allow him to speak?
Are there any objections? No? Seeing none.
Bob, you will need to unmute the microphone on your phone, on your end.
There. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't understand exactly what you meant in that reply to my message. So I guess I should have said something. For this meeting, I'm 73 and I don't feel like I needed to address, be there physically. And so I prefer to do it by the Zoom. And if there's no objections, I'd like to I would like you to accept my connecting that way.
There are no objections.
Sorry, I was muted. I will promote him to a panelist. And then I do have a raised hand from an Ann Mullen. If you want to save that for general public comments, I'm not sure who that person is. Staff, do you know? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll hold off until public comments.
Thank you.
So Madam Chair, now that Eric is connected to the meeting, which I believe he was able to, he can resume the role of the chair and move forward with the meeting.
Great, thank you. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for everyone's patience with today's rules.
Eric,
and
it is hard to hear you. Are you able to?
Is this better or? you
Yes,
could
that's
try-
better.
Okay, I'll try to hold the mic closer, maybe. Okay. Motion to approve minutes for October 8th, 2020. Are there any changes to the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
This is Brian. Motion to approve minutes as presented.
This is Michael, I'll second.
Any discussion? No. I don't see any Margie, any raised hands or?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Opposed, say nay. It passes. All were in favor. Item D, general public comments and public comments on agenda items. Staff, have any general comments been received?
No, Mr. Chair. I did have a participant did have their hand raised, but they have lowered their hand.
Okay, they lowered their hand.
Yes, so we can move forward.
Okay. Okay, item E, comments from the chair and member comments. I just thank everyone who was able to attend in person today. I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving. I don't have any other comments. If any committee members has a comment for the committee, please use the raise hand function to ask to be recognized, and remember to unmute. Any member comments, Margie? Any raised hands?
Yes, I have Brian with his hand raised.
Okay, Brian.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee. I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together, this virtual meeting, and respecting social distancing. I know it's hard right now. Wanted to congratulate the TPA on their first place Love to Ride challenge. I don't know if any of the other member municipalities participated in it. The city of Delray Beach did as well. Just quick congrats to you all for such great participation on that effort in Mobility Week. We also recently passed for second reading and have adopted into our code some pretty substantial updates for our bicycle parking requirements, which include indoor parking, storage requirements, type of rack requirements for racks placed in the right of way. If anyone's interested in seeing the LDR amendments, I'll be happy to shoot you a copy of the ordinance that we passed. It's a very substantial update based off of some of your municipality guidelines and then our American Pedestrian Bicycle Professional recommendations as well. Most developments over 8,000 square feet in our downtown are going to start requiring showers and indoor storage facilities for bicycle parking. And then anything outside of the central business district is at about 10,000 square feet will have showers included in them. Grocery stores, offices, it's a very substantial update. So I'd recommend if you want, I can share that with Alyssa or Margie, maybe you can share that with the committee. So that's it. Thank you.
I also have that John Roach has his hand raised.
Okay, John.
Good morning, everybody. Just want to bring to everyone's attention, you may have seen in the Palm Beach Post this morning, the city is moving forward with the bike trail project on the west side of Clear Lake and is having a community meeting on Tuesday, December 8th at 5:30. It'll be virtually via Zoom. There's a link, or it's wpb.org/Clear Lake to where you can register to participate in that meeting. So we'd certainly encourage residents and so forth to do that. Looking for feedback as far as final design and so forth. And so just wanted to make it aware that we're moving forward with that and pretty excited about it. So thank you.
Thanks, John.
And Mr. Chair, the person that I had, the attendee that I had as for public comments is Ann Mullen from FDOT. I believe she wanted to make comments on behalf of Larry Wallace, who is absent from the meeting. Would you like me to allow her to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you'll need to unmute on your end.
Hi, I was just trying to let you know that I was attending for Larry Wallace, but I see that you already know that. So that's it.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I have no other hands raised.
Okay. All right. Being no other member comments, item F, BTPAC liaisons report. Alyssa Frank will present the liaisons report.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all in person, or many of you in person this time. I'll run through this fairly quickly. So number one on the liaison report is the TPA committee census update. The TPA has received 17 out of 26 responses to its committee member census, which collects the BTPAC members' race, sex, age. We're going to use this data to help assist us in tracking committee diversity in accordance with state statute. An analysis of the results will be shared with members following completion of the survey. So if you have not done this survey yet, please, please, please go in and take it. We will have this available on our website, and the links are all linked to this document. The Southeast Florida Transportation Summit. This is going to be a virtual summit that is going to be held next Wednesday on December 9th, 2020 to discuss South Florida's future transportation vision. To register, please visit ftlchamber.com/transportation. The Florida Transportation Plan, or FTP, the draft FTP policy element is posted for review and public comment through December 13th. To view this draft, please visit floridatransportationplan.com. There's going to be a project development public hearing. FDOT is hosting a virtual development meeting on December 15th and an in-person hearing on December 16th at the Lantana Road Public Library at 4020 Lantana Road in Lake Worth, Florida, 33462. This is going to be to discuss the proposed improvements to the I-95 and Lantana Road intersection in Lantana. The meeting includes a presentation, design plans, and project information, and staff will be available to discuss and answer questions. There's material available for review on their website as well. The December TPA Governing Board meeting is going to be held on December 17th at 9 a.m., both in person and virtually. The agenda is available on our website with meeting details. In 2021, the TPA plans to hold meetings in January. The next BTPAC meeting is tentatively scheduled for January 7th at 9 a.m. The major action item on this agenda is the FDOT Draft Tentative Work Program for fiscal years 2022 to 2026. And just note that the meeting will be taking place at 9 and not 9:07. The Safe Streets Summit, 2021 Safe Streets Summit will be held virtually on January 28th and 29th. Early bird registration ends December 18th, 2020, and the last day to register is January 22nd, 2021. More information is available on their website. Safe Routes to School grant applications are due December 31st, 2020, and more information is available at srtsfl.org. And then Florida Public Opinion Survey for Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety is being conducted by FDOT, and it is a survey on people's knowledge of pedestrian and bicycle safety and knowledge on traffic laws related to pedestrians and bicycles. It actually has some really interesting questions and is definitely worth taking a look and completing the survey. And then lastly, there is a high visibility enforcement funds for pedestrian and bicycle safety that are still available. FDOT has funding available for law enforcement agencies to conduct HVE operations to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety. And again, more information is available on their website at alerttodayflorida.com/HVE.
Do any committee members have any comments or questions on the liaisons report? Margie, any raised hands?
I don't see any hands raised, Mr. Chair, and we also did not receive any public comments on the matter.
Okay. I had two questions. The survey, do we know what, is it anonymous, the committee member census survey?
The census, it is, what will be reported will be anonymous. I am the one that sees everyone's name because you do need to enter your name because I need to
Okay.
track that it was actually responded. But we don't share everybody's information individually. It's as a group as a whole. And then it will be reported to the TPA Governing Board. We will also have new appointees complete this survey when they go on the consent agenda for the TPA Governing Board to approve.
And do we know what members haven't done the survey? I think I saw an email that said some haven't, but wasn't.
Yeah, so if you receive that email saying that we have not received your response, it's because we did not receive your response. It only went to the ones that didn't respond. I do have a
Okay.
list. It
I'm
may
on the
not be
list.
accurate because I did get some more responses.
Okay.
But I will follow up in about a week again if I haven't heard back.
And the other question I had was the Lantana Road, I-95. I know we've seen a lot of the interchanges come before us. Have we seen that particular project come before the committee?
I have to double check and make sure. I think we have, but I want to confirm before I say yes or no on that.
Okay.
So I can get back to you.
Yeah, and if we haven't, I think it would be a good time to see the concept because the further and further they get with design, the less likely they are to want to make changes. I just can't keep track of. We've had so many of them come through recently. Okay, any other hands, Margie? Or nothing else on the liaison report?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Item 2A, motion to elect officers for the 2021 calendar years. I guess I'll read this. Pursuant to Section 5.3B of the TPA's operating procedures, the officers shall be elected annually at the last regularly scheduled meeting of the calendar year. The newly elected officers shall take office at the first regularly scheduled meeting of the following calendar year. Mr. Eric Ferguson is the current chair and Mrs. Stephanie Thoberg is the current vice chair. So I will now open the floor to nominations for the chair for the 2021 calendar year. Nominations do not require a second, but it's not out of order to second a nomination. So the floor is open. Please make your nominations.
This is Stephanie Thoburn. I nominate Eric Ferguson for chair.
I was going Eric Ferguson. I was going to nominate Brian Ruscher for chair.
Pass.
Pass. Okay. I tried, Brian. And Margie, do we do nominations for each position?
We generally separate them. So
Okay.
we can do the chair first and then the vice chair. But if
Okay.
someone makes a nomination to do both at the same time, that we can do that as well.
Okay.
Because Brian passed and there's no other nominations on the floor, we can ratify you again as chair unless there's other nominations.
Okay, let's give a few moments to see if there's any other nominations for chair.
Eric, I think
Okay.
you're doing a great job and I appreciate the nomination. I look forward to serving under you for another year.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had a couple vacancies in our staff, and I wish I had more time on some of this stuff. But I think I'd really like Brian, some of the stuff you guys are doing in Delray and the energy you bring to the meeting, and some of the other members that are more in the planning role. You guys, just want to say you guys really make a difference. And my current role, I'm more in operations, so I don't have as much chance to kind of make the changes that you guys get to make. So with that, we'll move on to nominations for the vice chair.
Brian Ruscher, I'd
Hear
like
about
to
this
nominate Stephanie Thoburn for vice chair.
I second.
Is there nominations for anyone else?
I don't have any hands raised virtually, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that, and I'm going to welcome Stephanie as the vice chair to continue her role.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. 2B, motion to recommend adoption of Amendment 2 to the fiscal year 21-25 Transportation Improvement Program TIP. And Jason Price, TPA TIP Coordinator, will present this item.
Morning, everyone. Good to see you in person and virtually. So this morning, I'm going to present to you a collection of 5 projects as part of a single amendment, amendment number 2, as part of the Transportation Improvement Program. The first project, so in this collection of 5 projects, 2 will be existing projects, and the following 3 will be new projects added to the TIP. The first project on the screen here is for I-95 at North Lake Boulevard. This project is part of the amendment due to the adjacent resurfacing project that was incorporated into this project. And you can note that by the length of the project has increased by incorporating the 2 projects together. This next project is a bridge replacement project, and this amendment will add the right-of-way phase to acquire private property to allow for the installation and maintenance of riprap for scour protection, as well as excavating, constructing, and maintaining the bridge and the drainage structures. So you'll note that predominantly they're all right-of-way phases to acquire private property. Now, these next three projects are new projects, and I'd like to go over each one of them individually. And you'll note that they're lighting project. A few of them are lighting projects. So for the first project, which is intersection lighting retrofit improvement. The purpose of this project is to improve intersection lighting to enhance pedestrian and vehicular safety. The project involves converting the existing lighting fixtures to LED lighting and add new additional LED lighting fixtures as required for each intersection lighting retrofit project. This next project is for Broadway Avenue from 45th Street to 59th Street. And the city of West Palm Beach requested that the department perform a safety assessment for this location. And this location happens to be a high crash area. So the purpose of this project is to upgrade existing lighting with a focus on upgrading pedestrian and cyclist safety. Decorative lighting poles and fixtures will be added for consistency with existing lighting. Now, the third project is slightly different. This is going to be built by Brightline with additional SU funds from the TPA to support a CRISI grant for Brightline. So those are the 5 projects as part of this amendment. This amendment will require a vote to be approved. And if you have any questions, I'm available to answer them.
Okay, staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair, and I do have Stephanie with her hand raised.
Okay, Stephanie.
When do you anticipate presenting any of these design changes to this board?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Like,
Well, the request is for additional monies, correct?
yes, there are additional projects that would be the 3 lighting projects or the 3 new projects that are being added.
Right, for example, so like some of these, like the lighting projects, I mean, are any of them going to be shown to us so that we can understand what are the changes or how are they improving safety, pedestrian and bicycle safety?
Right. I think through FDOT, they have a process to submit comments for the design phase through they have an electronic, what is it? ERC, electronic review service, to where if you're signed up for that service, you'll get emails to log on to look at the project and look at the design and provide comments through that method. So there is a method to do that, but we don't bring them forward to the boards. We just bring these types of projects that have changes that would affect the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP document itself. But the design phase and the review would go through FDOT and the ERC process, Electronic Review Committee. I don't know what the C stands for, but Fadi?
I think, what Stephanie mentioning, it'll be useful for the committee to understand the benefit of this lighting project and how they impact. It would be nice if, maybe in the future, DOT, some of them would come and explain to us these benefits.
That would be helpful. I could follow up with FDOT to request them to come to present, or at least provide more information on the design concept for the projects. If that would be acceptable to the group.
So,
Go ahead, Brian.
thank you. I think for us to get into, for this specific motion and recommendation, I think this has to do largely with the funding of the projects more so than the design of themselves. I do think that if we start requesting specifics for each and every project, we are going to have a lot of discussion time, and then we'll probably need to put more on our calendars to reserve. So I think that for example, with the last meeting, we saw a project presented by the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council that is immediately adjacent to one of these projects. It'd be interesting to see how some of these things overlap, especially as we start compounding transportation projects with one another. Specifically in regards to the decorative lighting project, I know that the city of West Palm Beach has a Vision Zero policy, and Dixie Highway is one of the highest pedestrian crash corridors, I think also in the TPA's plan. So I think that it's important for the committee to recognize the projects where high crash corridors are located, especially because 30% of the crashes on that corridor are pedestrian and bicycle crashes. So just for that project, it's very important to, I think, carry forward and to see the benefits that pedestrian scale lighting can have. Thank you.
Yeah, my question was for the committee in general, if for staff, are there specific project on the list we want presentations? Was it more the lighting project? If people want to make comments, because if we are going to have staff bring the DOT or different people in, I'd like to give staff more clarity on what we're requesting.
Jean Matthews, can we put the list up again? Because some of them I think are just.
You have to leave it on, Jean, so they can hear.
Can we put up the list? Because it seems like some of them are just intersection upgrades. You know, lights, LED
you're
versus
correct.
old-fashioned lights.
Let's see if it is part of it. Yep. Nope. Go one. Oh,
Actually, sharing
next
the
slide,
agenda.
please.
The agenda might actually be a better way. Or you have them all listed on the slide, Jason?
Yes, if we can go to the next slide, it'll be the first project of the three. If we could advance to the next slide, now I can do it. Okay, now I can. All right. So let's take a look. So the first project in the description, you can see that there's several corridors for Powerline Road at Southwest 18th Street, Canary Palm Drive, Camino Real, Palmetto Circle, North, Boca Grove Boulevard. So those are all on the single corridor for Powerline Road. The next one is Forest Hill Boulevard at Jog Road, Kudza Road, Davis Road, Congress Ave, Florida Mango Road, Pine Tree Lane. I think there are actually a few more on here too. I could read them all for you if you'd like, or.
No, that's okay. So you're not doing like signal lights like red, yellow, green, but you're doing LED lights to make the intersections more visible.
Yes. What I have from the FDOT is that it's converting the existing lighting fixtures to LED lighting and adding new additional LED lighting fixtures as required by the intersection lighting retrofit project. So it's upgrading the lighting to LED lighting.
Well, and they're doing that all over Palm Beach County. I mean, it's a good thing to have more light at the intersection.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you want, what is the follow-up required
Well,
for this that you would like to see?
I kind of think for 1 and 2 are lighting, and number 3 is the rail crossing safety.
Yes.
So I'm not sure I need to see the projects, but it's up to other committee members.
Yeah,
It's
to
up to
kind
you
of
all.
summarize what I'm hearing from the committee members, and if someone would want to make.
Chair, I also
Yeah.
have that John has his hand raised as well.
Oh, okay. Yep, John, recognize.
Mine's not so much of a question, it's just a comment and clarification as far as where I'm going to vote with regards to this, is that I support the projects, the amendments that you have presented before us, and therefore I'm going to vote in support of them. It's clarification that it's for those projects only, that it's you know the city's position with regards to the TIP and the inclusion of State Road 7 and so forth.
Yes,
So-
that has been addressed at the other,
So, my affirmative vote that I'll have today is specifically towards these 5 projects. So,
and that is exactly what I'm bringing forward to you, is not to mix the existing projects in the tip, but only the 5 projects that are being presented to you today is the action being taken to amend only these 5 projects and not any of the other projects within the transportation improvement program. And it wouldn't affect those projects, only the ones that are being presented today.
understood. Thank you.
Okay. Any other raised hands, Margie?
There's 5, but we've seen the slide on 3, just for clarification, see the slide on other 2, but I want to make a motion to approve the amendment as presented.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Michael Owens, a second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Any raised hands, Margie?
I don't, but to clarify, Jean, were you asking us to pull the presentation back up on the screen, or were you just moving forward with your motion?
To pull up the other 2 projects so we can just see what they are, but I am making a motion to adopt it.
So the first 2 projects that have changes to the actual project, these are not new projects, but existing projects. And so if we could go back, okay, we'll take care of this one first. So US 1 over Earman River Bridge, this is a bridge replacement project. And what's happening here is the addition of right-of-way to acquire private property to allow for the installation and maintenance of riprap for scour protection, as well as excavating, constructing, and maintaining the bridge and the drainage structures. That is what's happening as part of this project, and that is what is prompting the amendment, is to add the right-of-way phases to complete this work as part of the project. Now, let's go over to the first one. This next project is I-95 at North Lake Boulevard. This is the consolidation of 2 projects. This project is being added to an adjacent resurfacing project that increases the length of the project, but combines 2 projects because they're in close proximity and can be done at the same time. And so you see, to accommodate the work, or at least combining the 2 projects, there is a need to adjust some of the funding and phases for the project to accommodate the consolidation of the projects.
Jean, on your screen, on the bottom right corner, there's 3 dots that say more, and there's a raised hand function
Okay.
that you can use. But Eric, Jean has her hand raised again.
Okay.
Given the clarification of the projects, I think everything seems reasonable. Therefore, I make a motion to approve the amendment as presented.
So Eric, I previously had a motion by Jean and a second by Michael Owens.
Okay. So we've
This
had,
does require a roll call vote.
and is there any further discussion? Margie, any raised hands?
I have Fadi with his hand raised.
Okay. Dottie.
Yeah, I'm just making the same point. I mean, I'm going to vote for this project, not specifically this project, but it's useful for us, to understand the benefit of additional lighting and what is the process DOT uses to decide which project to do, and, the priority and the benefit. So again, not related to this particular project, but be useful in the future for DOT to come and explain to us how they can improve lighting and what is the procedure they use and the cost benefit analysis or whatever priority process they do. Okay.
Okay. Any other raised hands, Margie?
No, Mr. Chair.
I'm just, before I call the roll, I'm going to echo Fadi's comment. We're working on the current, grant cycle with the TPA and the state road modifications. And That's something I was wondering myself, is we have a lot of signalized intersections that do not have the upgraded lighting, and I'd be interested, the same thing, Fadi, is how the DOT's approaching improving pedestrian lighting and their long-term plan, how long it's going to take to upgrade everything. So any other raised hands before we call the roll?
I just want to follow up on those questions. We did follow up with FDOT asking those specific questions.
Okay.
So when we get a response, I can share that with you, because that was our initial response, is those questions exactly, in addition to others.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, I have a motion by Gene Matthews, and it was a second by Michael Owens.
Correct.
Okay, we are going to do this vote by roll call. Margie, please call the roll.
Okay, and just to confirm, the motion on the floor is to recommend adoption of amendment number 2 to the fiscal year 21-25 Transportation Improvement Program as presented. So Sally Channon,
Aye.
Eric Ferguson,
Aye.
Ted Goodenough is absent, Michael Howe,
Aye.
Gene Matthews,
Aye.
Yash Nagal is absent, Fadi Nassar,
Aye.
Michael Owens,
Yes.
Craig Pinder,
Aye.
Ryan Harding,
Aye.
John Roach,
Aye.
Brian Rusher,
Aye.
Bob Saban,
Aye.
Joanne Scaria,
Aye.
Stephanie Thoburn.
Aye.
It passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Items 3A, Florida East Coast Railway FEC Passenger Rail Agreements Update.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to quickly interject. We actually were able to look into the question that you had when we were going over the liaison report regarding the I-95 and Lantana interchange, and confirmed that that actually was brought as a presentation to BTPAC back in March of 2020, and it passed as a motion 12-1 with Fadi opposing it, and asked FDOT and consultants to evaluate moving bicycle lanes to the outer edge next to the pedestrian spaces as a part of the PD&E and value engineering process.
Okay, thank you. All right. Florida East Coast Railway FEC Passenger Rail Agreements Update. Jessica Jocelyn, TPA consultant from Kittleson Associates, is going to present this item on a proposed agreement for passenger rail stations and services along the FEC Railroad.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I wore my sweater today since it's not, it's just under 80 degrees this afternoon. Hope you're enjoying the beautiful weather. So again, I'm Jessica Jocelyn. I'm a consultant for your organization, the TPA. So I am here today to present a summary, as the slide indicates, of the Brightline Station agreement status. Just as a refresher, the TPA board did request this work directly to be done, just to have a clear, concise, and accurate understanding of what's actually going on with Brightline and different agencies through Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County, as it gets quite confusing depending on which articles you're reading or who you're talking to. So hopefully we'll be able to provide some clarity for the board on the 17th. We'll run it through you guys first. So this is a summary of all the action going on related to Brightline. There's a lot of information there. We ended up categorizing what's occurring into 3 different categories. That's slightly going to change when we go to the board, so it's a bit easier to digest. But in a nutshell, we have existing stations. As you know, there are 3, West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. And then there are what we're considering under construction stations. And there you have Boca, Aventura, and then the Tri-Rail downtown Miami link. And then you also have there the 2 connections between the CSX line and the FEC line that's noted. And then there are stations currently under negotiation or discussion that we've categorized, that I'll be walking through all of these further detail through the presentation. But there we've listed the 6 SMART Plan stations. SMART Plan, again, the Strategic Miami Area Regional Transit Plan, if you're not familiar with the acronym. And then also the Port of Miami, or as they refer to themselves, Port Miami Station. And then last category, we have future locations of interest for stations and connections. And that's going up into Treasure Coast, discussions in Broward County, and then the Pompano Beach connection. So lots going on. It was really exciting to see. We have 15 stations and 3 crossovers being worked on so far. So moving into the existing and under construction stations for the status here. So starting with your West Palm Beach Brightline station, as you know, it is up and active pre-COVID. Brightline purchased the land for $3.8 million. And as part of the station, there were tax credits and development bonuses that we thought it was important to remind the board about and you all. And also in terms of the development that's gone in, we are getting a status to confirm that that's complete. But there was development that went in and infrastructure improvements. And then of course the access road, if you've been using the station, we're quite close to it. So I'm sure you're familiar with this status. And then moving into Boca, another exciting opportunity for Palm Beach County. This is a $46 million project. $6.35 million came from the US DOT, that's not District 4, but US DOT grant. And the city is providing a lease agreement for the land. They've broken ground, quote unquote, but they actually haven't cleared the land yet. So it's going through processes with the city still, but it is moving forward. Very exciting for Boca. Fort Lauderdale, as you I'm sure are aware, is another up and running station that's already built and constructed. We don't have a lot of information on Fort Lauderdale in terms of financials, just because they bought the land and they built it, so they don't have agreements to share and things like that. But just wanted to note here that the station covers 60,000 square feet, and there is a healthy size park and ride lot down there, if you're not familiar, next to the station, and it's actually built adjacent to the Broward County Transit Terminal. Aventura is another exciting new station coming in. So that is $76.7 million. It's quite a bit more than the Boca station. And the reason is because they are building quite a significant pedestrian bridge where you see the kind of candy cane boxes. That's where the station is. They're building a pedestrian bridge to connect over US 1 to drop down into the Aventura Mall area. So that's why that price tag's a bit heftier. The county did authorize a 3-acre property acquisition as part of the 76 million. The property itself was 18 million, closing costs about 1.3. And they actually did that through Brightline companies purchasing the property, and then the county bought it back for about $10. And they're going to move forward with that. So very exciting as well for Aventura. Oops. So the next one is the downtown Miami, or as they refer to it, Miami Central Station. Again, a very active up and running station in the heart of downtown Miami. There was no agreement here. Brightline purchased or owned the land, so not a lot of information on financials, but just wanted to highlight, it's interesting with this station, the amount of development they got. So it's really neat that in this day and age, they were able to find so much opportunity to develop in the heart of Miami. So lots of mixed use there. You can see a 9-acre property or development listed on the slide there. And then, of course, with the downtown Miami station comes the Tri-Rail Downtown Miami Link Station, is its formal title. So when the Miami Central Station went in, Tri-Rail did partner with them to make sure that they could have access. So the price tag for that was about just under 50 million, as you see there, with about $16 million being added as well for track improvements for the Iris connection connecting into the station. So Tri-Rail has fulfilled all of their obligations for getting into this station. We are now waiting on Brightline to finish their obligations, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So jumping into the connections, going back up to Palm Beach is your Northwood connection. This has been constructed. I think the final price tag was 45 million, but 13.75 million was from a Tiger grant that went towards construction. And again, as I said in the beginning, these crossover connections are connecting the South Florida Rail Corridor, where CSX runs, to the Florida East Coast Railway Corridor. So right now, although it's constructed and active, it's not operational. So there aren't trains using this corridor at the moment. Now going back to what I was saying in Miami, the Iris corridor. So $16 million, $16 to $17 million from SFRTA went into making this connection. Again, being able to bring Tri-Rail into downtown Miami. And when I said Brightline hasn't finished their obligations yet, we are waiting on positive train control to be implemented on Brightline's side, and then that needs to be approved by the Federal Rail Administration. They're no longer really giving timelines on this because it does keep moving in a world of COVID and Brightline's operations being adjusted because of that. It's somewhat unknown, but we are trying to get more of a nailed down date on that to report. So going into the actively under negotiation discussion, as I mentioned, the SMART plan. So there are 6 stations between Aventura and downtown Miami. As of November 20th, the Miami-Dade County Commission approved the right to enter into negotiations. And right now they're looking at about a $12 million annual access fee and up to an initial payment of $50 million. The initial proposal for 5 of the 6 stations was $350 million. So these funds are from the People Transportation Plan that Miami approved quite some time ago. So they do have those local funds available to them. And so does Broward, which I'll talk about in a moment. So the next is the Port of Miami or Port Miami station. The Brightline website actually has this as a planned station. So it does seem like it should be in the first category of existing or under construction, but they're actually still under negotiations here. The tentative placement is in Terminal H that you see there on the map on the west end of the port. And they are looking to recoup money through this by charging a $2 passenger fee when this is up and running. And Virgin Cruise Lines was partnering on this with Virgin Trains. Virgin Trains pulled out. So we'll see again post-COVID how all this moves forward, but we're keeping a pulse on it. And then the last category, the future locations of interest for stations or connections, starting with Treasure Coast to the north of us. Here you see a map showing Stewart, because that's most likely if a station goes in where it would go, but Fort Pierce also expressed interest, so they're not off the table. But again, Stewart is probably the most likely. There was a lawsuit, if you remember, in the news with Martin County and an advocacy group, and the lawsuit was settled. And the settlement included splitting the cost, as you see there, of building at least 1 train station, including safety upgrades, quiet zones along the railroad tracks. So stay tuned. We will see how that comes along. And then in Broward County, they are looking to run trains throughout the whole county ultimately. If you remember over the years, that's been part of the discussion. There is this little wrinkle called the New River in downtown Fort Lauderdale that the trains have to cross over. And the city historically has said they wanted a tunnel. And building a tunnel through downtown Fort Lauderdale is not feasible. So the studies have become dormant moving forward because of that tunnel requirement. But since then, the tunnel requirement has somewhat come off the table. And there's more openness to looking at other alternatives for getting across the river. And then also a great win for Broward, they passed a surtax. So they have about $350 million a year. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I recall hearing coming in. So they also have funding. So these are moving forward. Potentially, if everything goes as planned, and the county and FDOT are currently developing a memorandum of understanding. I know FDOT's on the line. So we'll see how that memorandum of understanding proceeds, and that would then move and pick up the study, the PD&E that was being done will be resurrected, and we will move forward and come up hopefully with some feasible options to get across the river. And then the Pompano Beach connection, actually in my hometown. So this cost is estimated about $77 million. We had some rumors that this was done, and it's actually not constructed. And the location just about north of Atlantic Boulevard, the property owner was not interested. So that somewhat died as well, but we'll see over time. There could be new owners or new interest if the price is right, to see this continue to move forward. But right now, no ongoing studies, and this is a dormant activity, if you will. So that is the full exciting summary of Brightline happenings. It's exciting to see rail continue in South Florida. So it was just an information item, but I'm happy to take any questions or corrections if I maybe misspoke on something that you have more information on.
Okay, staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, do any committee members have any comments?
I have Fadi with his
raised?
hand raised.
Okay, Fadi.
Yeah, nice presentation. I have a few questions. I'm kind of a bit confused because initially I thought Brightline was supposed to be kind of a few stations, kind of speedy connection, especially when you connect to Orlando, you're not going to be stopping too many places. What is now I'm a bit confused between station and connection. How many stations can it be between Palm Beach and Miami?
So the summary had 15 stations, but they're all in different statuses between Treasure Coast. So if you take Treasure Coast off the table, it'd be 14 in between Palm Beach and Miami.
So it's no longer this kind of high-speed connection. It's going to be more like a regional commuter or something.
Yeah, it seems over time that since Tri-Rail Coastal Link, which was a big initiative for the region and part of our vision, as Tri-Rail Coastal Link became somewhat dormant because of the new river, I believe was one of the issues. People have found opportunity through the private world to still see that vision come to life. And Brightline's been working with us to slowly add in other stations. There's been interest. This was a discussion yesterday, the amount of trains going to each stop is not going to be the same. It's going to be based on demand. So yes, so it's not going to be the same amount of trains for every station, same frequency, the whole line. It's going to vary. And that was kind of the plan initially with Tri-Rail Coastal Link and Brightline to begin with. They were going to both use the corridor, and one was going to have more frequent stops, and then one was going to have more intermittent. So I don't know the operations plans and schedules yet, but they are going to be taking all that into consideration to make sure it's still compatible and effective.
So the original master plan, kind of the connection between Orlando and Miami is kind of no longer
They actually, so I didn't mention, they are still proceeding north of Treasure Coast. So just recently, if you saw in the news, my weeks are getting blurred. Last week or this week, they signed an agreement with Disney. So they're actually looking now to go into Disney. So that's becoming more of a reality. They're making ground on that. And I know Tampa, they want to expand too, and the West Coast of the United States. So they still have a lot of plans to expand.
And do you have any idea about the frequency of operation?
I don't. There was some language in the agreements about number of trains and frequency and costs, even with parking and tickets. I don't have that in my head right now to give you, but we're happy to share that information.
Okay. Again, I'm all for transit, but it has a huge impact on traffic and other stuff. So it'd be nice to take everything into consideration.
Yeah. There's no current updated operational analysis. Probably the latest holistic one we have is from when the PD&Es were going on with Tri-Rail Coastal Link and when Brightline was originally going in. But I'd say, not representing Brightline or Tri-Rail Coastal Link, just personally, that what they're doing is consistent with what the region kind of was wanting for quite some time. So
just for your information, I think the county had a consultant do micro simulation for the entire West Palm Beach downtown.
Okay.
And we have full understanding of the impact of the rail crossing.
Okay.
So if you more than happy to share the study with you.
Okay, we can, James, as my project manager working on this, he and I can let Brightline know or remind them that you have that information if it's helpful. And if we need it, we'll have it in our file. Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I do have Stephanie with her hand raised.
Okay, Stephanie.
Thank you for the update and a lot of good information. How often do you think we can get periodic updates or presentation like this? annually, quarterly, or I think there's a lot of good stuff in here that would be nice. And if we could get the presentation beforehand so that we could actually review it and it's kind of hard to have your questions ready after your
Yeah.
presentation. So I
Yeah,
would have liked to have had a
understood.
little bit more time to digest it.
Yes, understood. And I do apologize for not having your standard backup information. Information was still trickling in. So we didn't want to send incorrect information to get it to you in advance. There will be a full report going to the board. That was not in your agenda package now that we've been able to update and correct some of the information. So we'll make sure to share that with you. You'll see it come through with the board package. And then moving forward, you will have information in advance, assuming, you know, it seems the news changes. Sometimes we can't control it, but so we will try our best to get you information like you typically do in advance. And then in terms of frequency, I can work with James on what we think is appropriate based on as things occur. So it may not be consistent. It'll happen as the station statuses change perhaps, but we have discussed as a group the importance of this document in terms of keeping it live and updating it, especially as Palm Beach continues to potentially add stations and implement their long-range plan. So
Great,
that
thank
is the
you.
intent.
Okay, Margie, any other raised hands?
Jean with her hand raised.
Okay, Jean.
Brightline stopped running in the face of COVID. Do they have an estimated time to resume operations?
You know, I did not ask the person I was interacting with on that, but if we hear of anything, we'll make sure, the TPA staff and I will make sure to let you all know, but I am unclear on that.
Thank you.
Okay, Margie.
I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay, I had one question. Jessica, I didn't see a lot in Palm Beach County. Is there like gardens? Is there any other Palm Beach Gardens? Is there anything in North County? You know, because we've talked about Coastal Link versus if Brightline was going to be able to provide stations as an alternative. Is there
Yes.
any activity in the North
Yes.
County?
Good question. And actually, I should have mentioned Palm Beach Gardens did come up yesterday that it should be added. And the reason we are going to add Palm Beach Gardens to the list just because of the mobility fee. So there's a funding, they have the master plan, TOD ordinance. So there's kind of some concrete stuff to work with there. So that will be added, Palm Beach Gardens. In terms of like a Delray Beach or a Boynton, those are too soft, I want to say, or we know they're being talked about, but they didn't quite make the threshold of being added. But I know Delray is like, no. And it's not to say they're not important. It's not to say the cities don't want them. It's just the level of discussion and funding. So kind of that commitment, I guess I'd call it, is a better word. The commitment is softer than what these other stations are. But we know there's still a lot of very important other opportunities and that cities are talking about it, desiring it, planning for it. So again, I think your point of updating this and giving, you know, routine presentations on it is important given that fact. So I feel I rambled a bit on answering your question, but Palm Beach Gardens will be added. And then as funding and commitment happen in the rest of Palm Beach County, that will be added in. And I trust that will happen over the years.
Great. We're looking forward to future updates. Margie, any other raised hands before we move on?
Yes, I have Craig with his hand raised.
Okay, Craig.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that the city of Boynton Beach,
Yeah.
we are working on our mobility fee at the moment, and we do have our station. We plan to include that in our mobility fee. So
Awesome.
definitely do consider us.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And Delray just offering the mic if there's any.
It's in our plan.
Okay.
We'll get there.
We'll end there. Awesome.
Okay. Final call, Margie. Anyone else?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, item 3B, listing of fiscal year 20 obligated projects. Jason Price will present this item.
Good morning and hello again. So now I'll be presenting an information item, which is part of the Transportation Improvement Program. The TIP, this is the fiscal year 20 annual obligation list of projects. So first, before we get into the list of projects that are a part of this obligation project, I just want to go over what the obligated projects, what this is all about. So I'm going to read to you what we put into the obligation report so you have a good understanding of what this is. So in general, federal funds are obligated to transportation projects through FHWA and FTA. And according to FHWA definition, an obligation is a legal commitment, which is the federal government's promise to pay the state for the federal share of a project's eligible cost. So what you'll see is only federal funds that are listed in terms of the financial obligation and what was spent and not spent. So along those lines, for a project funded by FHWA funds, the commitment occurs when FHWA approves the project and executes the project agreement. And for projects funded by FTA funds, which are basically the transit projects for Tri-Rail and Palm Beach County Transit System, this commitment occurs at the time the FTA grant is awarded. Alternatively, funding can also be de-obligated. A de-obligation means money previously obligated is removed from the project to reflect changes to the project cost, delay, or cancellation. So with that, we now understand what an obligated report is according to FDOT and its partners, FHWA and FTA. So I've summarized this first slide is a summary of the amount of funds that are both obligated and the difference within the TIP for the sections within the Transportation Improvement Program. So you see the sections on the left and moving to the right, how much was programmed in the TIP, the amount being requested, and then the obligated amount, what was actually spent on the project, and then the difference. The de-obligated portion is separate from the other three in that it's just the amount of funds that were not spent on the project. The next three slides are just an illustration of the projects that have a difference of over 500,000, either plus or minus. What you'll see here is there's a lot of blank columns for the fiscal year 20 TIP request, which was the amount listed in the TIP for that year. There was nothing listed for the project for that year. However, there was obligated funds for those projects. So money was spent on the project, but not necessarily programmed in the TIP. There's a variety of reasons for that. But one of those is the use of advanced construction funds by the state to advance the projects and pay for the project and then be reimbursed later on with federal funds. And so these projects kind of go across different TIPs, previous year TIPs, outside the current TIP. So you can track these projects by looking at previous TIPs and see that these projects have been moving through the process. And now, although they're not in our current TIP with funds requested in that year, they are getting, FDOT is getting the funds back that they spent on the project through the federal funds. And that's why you see those types of differences. The next few then this next slide, it's just a continuation of the higher value projects, and then it goes into the negative of these projects had funds programmed or requested, but were not fully used. And that's what you see here. There is, again, a variety of reasons for this as well. So with that, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, staff, are there any public comments on this item before committee members have
No,
questions?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Margie, do any committee members have any comments?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, being no other committee members have comments. Jason, I had a question. I think it was the second slide. The local initiatives had a several $1 million de-obligation due to the second or third slide. Could you pull that up and
Yeah.
I don't.
Yep.
Okay, that's the one. The three. What does that? What does de-obligate mean? And I'll maybe start with what I think it means. Did we not spend the money and it went somewhere else?
Well, there could be delays in the project and the funds will come back in a future year where
Okay.
they just simply weren't spent. It could look like it's maybe canceled or delayed, or the funds were not necessarily completely used on the project. There was excess funds on the project. So from what I read previously, let's see. A de-obligation means money previously obligated is removed from the project to reflect changes to the project's cost, delay, or cancellation.
Okay.
So I'd have to look into exactly what projects they are in the local initiatives section to identify what happened with those funds and follow up with FDOT to really get a clear understanding of why there is a large amount that is de-obligated under that particular tip section. Now, it could be a variety of projects that you don't necessarily see in the next few slides because it's not over 500,000. So I didn't include it in the list. So there could be small amounts over several projects, or it could be a couple of projects with larger amounts. But these are our priority projects. So we track these pretty closely. And I always follow up with DOT about these types of projects, projects that impact the TPA priorities, and nothing significant had drawn our attention for this particular obligation for this year for the obligation report. So I could look into it further. However, that's what I have.
Would that maybe be South Dixie Highway potentially? Was that an LI or is that an SRM? And West
We
Palm
could
Beach?
pull up the full list. We could type in local initiatives. We could take a look at those projects.
Yeah, because it's from a bicycle PTAC, the LI is really where we get a lot of good work happens, and that's a huge number to be de-obligated. I'd like more follow-up on that.
And it's concerning because it could look like something is canceled or delayed or funds were not used. And so it's really getting down to what projects they are, in what amounts, and why.
Yeah. And then
those are the types of follow-ups that I do with FDOT when it's a considerable amount or it's a project that is a priority project that there's some type of issue that would cause that.
And then the other thing is, can the funds be used for other LIs or does it go back somewhere else? That would be the other thing I'd like to know.
Mr. Chair, I do have that Jean has her hand raised.
Okay. That's it, Jason. Jean?
Yeah,
I
would like staff to come back. We de-obligated over 3.5 million in local initiative funds, and I'm hoping staff can come back and explain exactly, specifically what projects were impacted by that. And if the money comes back, rolls back into our funds. So next year, instead of giving away $1 million plus, we could give away $4 million plus.
I mean, I don't think this is a transfer of funds to where it's de-obligated and we can just put it somewhere else. That's not what's happening here. However,
Sorry, I was going to interrupt Jason. Mr. Chair, I do have that Ann Mullen with FDOT has her hand raised. Do you want me to let her
Yeah,
speak?
maybe she
They
could
might have
provide some insight. Ann,
more clarity.
recognized.
Hi, I was going to look into what projects the de-obligation of, especially the 3.5 million, but I do know what's happening because of COVID. Local agencies are dropping a lot of projects. They can't afford the local match because they're trying to mitigate COVID losses or what have you. So what they're doing is they're reprioritizing their projects, and a lot of them can't afford the local match. So that could be, I mean, I can look it up specifically for that 3.5 million. That could be one of the things. The other thing is they might have gotten like a grant or federal money. So if that happens, then we can de-obligate or, unencumber the state money because they're getting federal money on a project. But I think I'm, I don't want to speak before I research, but I think it might have something to do with a lot of the local agencies reprioritizing their budgets because of the COVID, basically.
Great,
Thank you for that. So I'll follow up, Gene. I'll look into the projects for local initiatives and really get down to what projects they are, what the differences are, and try and get some clarification on why.
Thank you.
Mr.
Jean,
Chair, I don't have any other hands raised.
Okay. On that, no other, I think to Jason, Jean's second point was, and I had similar question is, where does the money go? What does the obligation really mean? Is it still available to be reprioritized or LI? Okay, we'll move on to item 4A, summary points from the October 15th, 2020 governing board meeting. This is an informational item only. There is no staff presentation on this item unless requested by a committee member. Staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. There's any raised hands from committee members or in person? Committee members want to have any
No, Mr.
questions?
Chair.
Okay, seeing that there's no committee members have any questions, I'm going to move on to item 4B, FDOT project scheduling report. Informational item only. There is no staff presentation on this item unless requested by a committee member. Staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair, but Alyssa does have a comment to make on the item.
Okay, Alyssa.
So we obtain an FDOT scheduling report every month that provides upcoming milestones for each project. We actually had requests to reorganize it in our TIP or Transportation Improvement Plan sections, and we only included phases that we felt would be most relevant to everyone here and our citizens. If it is grayed out, the date has passed. If it is red, bold, and underlined, it's happening within the next 90 days. We'd really appreciate for everyone to provide feedback on ways to make it better. We want this to be a helpful resource for everyone. So, thank you.
Okay. Margie, any raised hands on the scheduling report?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. 4C, 2020 Governing Board and Advisory Committee meeting dates. This is an informational item only. There's no staff presentation on this item unless requested by a committee member. Staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair, but again, Alyssa does have a comment on the item.
Okay. Okay.
So I want to remind everyone that as of right now, we do have a January meeting scheduled. That is tentative. It might change depending on if we receive a report from DOT. So we will let you know beforehand, probably at the time that the agenda goes out, but I will reach out to you guys and let you know. I also do want to remind everyone that starting in 2021, our BTPAC meetings are going to be occurring at 9 a.m. and not 9:07. So that's just a reminder to everyone. That is all I have.
Okay. Moving on, 4D, next meeting, January 7th, 2021, tentative. Our next BTPAC meeting is tentatively scheduled for January 7th, 2021. TPA staff will provide an update closer to the meeting date to confirm if the meeting will indeed take place. Did have a question on that, staff. With the current rules with the governor, would it be in person, or is it just too early to know?
So, Mr. Chair, we went based off of our allowance for our hybrid meeting where most members could attend virtually based on the governor's executive order 20-69. That order was not extended. That was the reasoning that we had to meet in person today. We are not anticipating that a new order will be issued at this time. So we will continue to meet in person with a quorum having to be present in person, and again, allowing virtual attendees in by a vote of the majority of members. This could change within the next month. Every week every day actually, we check for updates on that. So we won't know until the agenda goes out for sure. And Brian does have his hand raised.
Okay, Brian.
So our city attorney has made an interpretation of the previous executive orders that has allowed us to go to virtual meetings, entirely virtual meetings for items that are non-quasi judicial. And I don't think that we're dealing with quasi judicial items since we're swearing in people. Would it be helpful for me to share our attorney's contact information with your attorney so that they can chat about those interpretations?
You can, but it is the interpretation of our agency as well as a majority of the MPOs in our area that we do need to have a quorum present in person in order to conduct a meeting. But you can share that information with me, and we'll follow up with our legal counsel. And John does have his hand raised as well.
Okay, John.
Yeah, just to follow, I think you're going to find that a lot of jurisdictions are doing different things, have different interpretations. Cities, the West Palm's, a little bit different. With regards to our interpretation, a lot of cities are using home rule as a reason for, the ability to do what they're doing. So you're going to find a lot of variety across the state, which is unfortunate, but, until a decision is made, I guess, as far as across the board.
Thank you, John.
Yes, and I will say that if any of our municipalities would like to share information, they're more than welcome to send it to me, and I will follow up with our general counsel. But like I said, at this time, his interpretation of the ruling is that we need a quorum present in person, and then others can join virtually if allowed by the consensus of the in-person attendees. I also have Bob has his hand raised.
Okay, Bob.
Oh, Bob, you're muted. Bob, I'm still showing that you're muted. Can you try unmuting again?
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to take just a couple seconds at the end because I didn't realize this would have been earlier it would have been later in the normal agenda. But anyway, this is my last meeting. I've decided that I've done enough. I've enjoyed my time. I'm not getting as much stuff as active with the committee as I have in the past, and I think it's just time for me to say goodbye. So, goodbye.
Okay, well, Bob, I'd like to, behalf of everyone on the committee, like to thank you for your service, and if you know any other people you could recommend to be on the committee in the future or replacement. I think all of us thank you for your service.
Actually, one of the issues is I've tried to get somebody else to get interested in this committee and in the bicycling community, and I just wasn't able to get that done. And that was part of the reason I was not able to get some things done. Anyway, that's part of my reason for of retiring is that I didn't find a successor. So.
Okay. Margie, any other members have a hand raised or?
No, Mr. Chair, but I did want to state on behalf of the Palm Beach TPA, we do want to thank Bob for his service on our Bicycle Trailways Committee. We did find his feedback to be very valuable in making Palm Beach County safer for pedestrians and cyclists. So we did want to recognize him for his service.
Thank you.
I'm about to adjourn. I just want to thank the people who came in today for the hybrid, and something I just want to bring up that everyone feel safe with the accommodations and how the meeting worked today. I'm not there, so I want to thank staff for having to continually work hard again to improvise and adapt to these challenging times. So again, I thank everyone for your patience as we conducted this meeting today. At this time, our committee meeting is adjourned.
Take care.